It's Karen Read trial, day 12. I'm going to give you my daily recap. Today's recap is coming in two parts because I'm going out tonight, so I'm not going to be able to film until tomorrow morning. But I just watched the first morning portion of testimony, so I'm going to give you the recap from those witnesses. We have Julie Nagel still on the stand. She's wearing her gold cross, and she confirms that yesterday was the first time she's ever said that the blob was 5 to 6 feet. She's always said that there was a blob in the lawn, and she's really skating a fine line here because she can't say that it's a human, because then, like, why didn't you call the police? But she can't say it's an object because then it really doesn't draw attention to it. So we don't really ever get any answers about it, but she didn't call police the next day after she saw that either. Next up, the Commonwealth calls Terry Kuhn, and the judge mentions before she comes out to the jury that sometimes witnesses have to be out of order due to scheduling, and Carrie is going to be the first expert witness that they call. I'm guessing she wasn't able to testify later on, but she is the one who's going to testify about the dog DNA. There's a lot of questioning to kind of establish that she is an expert in her field. I didn't write exactly. Wait, did I write it down? Hold on. So experts really just have to be qualified, and she answers a ton of questions and proves that she is qualified, and she is a forensic scientist. This is the first expert that they're going to hear from. She does 2 tests with swabs that were sent, and the swabs basically say that there was no presence of canine DNA. In one of the tests that they do see pig DNA, but she does not speculate where that DNA could have come from. And then we get into the cross-examination from Alan Jackson. So up until this point, I am like, wow. The defense's claims are that he was bitten by the Albert family dog. There's no presence of dog or canine DNA, so therefore he was not bitten by the dog. But Alan Jackson was like a mastermind during this questioning. He really is just trying to poke holes in this evidence. So we learned that the police only sent swabs. They do not send the whole article, the source material, which is interesting because we don't learn where that swab came from. It could have been swabbed anywhere on the article of clothing that John O'Keefe was wearing. She does show us pictures of how it's all labeled, and I thought that was really interesting too because the other evidence that we've seen from the Mass State Police is nothing like the way that it is done and supposed to be done. It was really interesting when Jackson started asking if she would put blood evidence in a plastic cup, and he's alluding to the Solo cups where the snow and blood mixture was stored, and she says no, she would never do that. And he goes, you wouldn't use a Solo cup? And she goes, what? And then Lally objects. So he also wants to know, could the pig DNA have come from dog treats? You said it could come from food, and she said yes, that is possible. Overall, I really didn't think that this was a strong expert witness for the Commonwealth just because of the way that they collected the swabs. There's no evidence to show exactly where that was on the source material. Next up, we have Ryan Nagel, who is the brother of Julie Nagel. She testified a little bit this morning, and the brother is up today. He is the one who is coming to pick her up from 34 Fairview. He went to C.F. McCarthy's with friends. It was his girlfriend with him, and then they went to the hillside with Ricky D'Antano and a couple other friends. So basically his sister Julie texted him asking for a ride, and they lived at the same residence, so that wasn't uncommon. He said that as he was coming up Fairview Street from Cedar Crest, he sees a black SUV that he did not recognize. Says he remembers that the driver, Ricky, uses his blinker and flashed his headlights to signal to that person to turn first. They pulled up to the same house around the same time. He also states that he doesn't observe anybody get out of the car. He opened the car door to talk to his sister Julie when she came out, and she decided that she wanted to keep hanging out, so she invited them in. They didn't want to come in. Her testimony actually was that he rolled down the window, so that was a little bit different. He also says that the black SUV moved up another car length, and he could tell that the car was running because either the brake lights or the back lights were on, and then at one point the interior dome light was on, and he noticed a woman inside who was holding the steering wheel. He didn't observe any damage on the SUV either. So the cross-examination is done by Mr. Jackson. He argues that in Ryan Nagel's statement from 2023, he said that he talked to Julie for 5 minutes, and today he says that they only spoke for about 30 to 45 seconds. So he says he never saw the car drive up in reverse at all and hit anyone. He never saw anybody laying on the lawn. Overall, I didn't think he was like an important witness at all. The two to follow are the people that were in the vehicle with him. The first up was his now ex-girlfriend. Her name is Heather Maxson. This poor girl, she couldn't understand any of Mr. Lally's questions. She did have to ask for clarification quite a bit. She says that she saw a man and a woman sitting in the SUV. The woman was driving. She says that when they were communicating with Julie, the window was rolled down, not the door open, like her ex-boyfriend just said. Next up, we get Ricky D'Antano, and he's the driver, and he doesn't remember if he used his blinker. He said, I'm guessing I did. So it's really interesting that all of these witnesses, they really don't help establish exactly what time Julie said to come over and what time they actually went over to the house to pick her up, but they remember blinker and light situations, so it's a little confusing. Mr. Iannetti does the cross-examination for him, and he brings up the fact that the first statement that he gave was about a year ago. It was May 16th, 2023, and it would have been beneficial to get the statement the day after, as he was somebody who was there in the time frame that this crime had taken place. He kind of agrees that his memory was the freshest the day after. Next up, we have a very pivotal witness. I think that this is going to be really crucial. I'm very interested to see the cross-examination because obviously Mr. Lally just is dilly-dally-lally, just like skirting around a bunch of stuff, asking the stupidest questions. He always wants to know what people are drinking, where people are sitting at the bar, and it's like, we don't give a crap. We want to know who picked Colin Albert up from 34 Fairview, and this is who picked him up. So at this point, Allie is a senior in high school. She plays sports. She is, I don't even know if I said her full name, Allison McCabe. She is the oldest daughter of Jennifer and Matthew McCabe. So we only have a little bit of her testimony because they're getting ready to go for lunch. And she says that night she went to her sister's basketball game. Her parents were also there. She had her own car. And after the game, she just drove around with a couple of her friends. It gets kind of weird because Mr. Lally was just asking for like one specific thing she did, and she tells the whole night and says, I was driving around, we found this dog, we took the dog to the police station, and it's just like, what are you even talking about? So Mr. Lally wants all these silly details, but she kind of just gives it all out in one sentence. So she went to pick up Colin Albert because he texted her asking to pick up, and that was her aunt's house, so she was familiar with it, and she picked him up, and that's kind of where we broke for lunch. It was just a little bit before 1, and they'll be back today at 2. So I'm gonna film my part 2 for this tomorrow morning because I'm going out tonight, so see you later.